turn a little, who knows? Welcome, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. It is Friday, March 20th, and we are continuing our work on a capital bill. And I know that Connor, who's been our troublemaker on the floor.
It just comes from me.
You have been working on the whole issue of Fish and Wildlife dams and DEC dams.
Yep.
And we were trying to combine that possibly on the spreadsheet or combine even the work around those. So you've been doing some work. So what have you found? And then you said you might have some language.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't been working on the numbers at all.
No, but in terms of the government.
But there were some conversations, when they came in, Fish and Wildlife especially, there was a lot of dams. And it just seems to me, this is my fourth year on the committee. If you got an issue with a dam, everybody's going to Ben Green anyways, right? Like, they don't know how to take care. I just learned V-Trans has dams, right? Like, and they don't so they're always going to Ben Green. So if that's a case, could we look at a more efficient model there where the state owns all of them anyways? A lot of the Fish and Wildlife ones originally had some recreational purposes that are no longer relevant. And would it make more sense and be more cohesive to keep it under one roof there?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking government efficiency. And I'll be honest, I'm not married to if there's reasons for them to be separate, there's reasons for them to be separate. So I just took a stab, my robot friend ChatGPT on some language here, which I could share with some folks. But I called Ben Green. I just had a good talk with him. And I want to be clear, the administration's not taking a position or anything, right? And I told Ben, I'm not asking for you to take a position right now. But let's talk about this concept. And he actually said there have been some fits and starts with looking at a model like this over the years there. For whatever reason, they didn't get followed through. But I think it could be interesting. I wouldn't be looking for too heavy a lift over the summer, but a study committee where you could bring the different players to the table, which would be DEC, Forest and Parks, Fish and Wildlife, and V-Trans. That's what you have for the administration. And then I also called BNRC because they have a dam task force, which it's not defined in statute. They're more concerned with removal of dams. But some of the players at the table there seem like people who could be interesting, like the Army Corps of Engineers, to bring them into the mix, and maybe an NGO or two, so you get a variety of opinions. So that's what I was thinking, do a little summer study with everybody at that table, the report back in January.
So would folks be interested in having Connor work through and present some language for that?
If he's
Yes.
willing to.
Yeah, sure.
Greatly appreciate.
Makes a lot of sense.
If you could do that, well, I'm gonna ask you, you could do that, just I'm taking time on it, and then submit it to John.
Yep.
So at least he can get it in the draft of the bill, so we can look at it the first time. We go through the draft of the bill, so we're not gonna go through the draft of the bill until Tuesday.
Okay, I'll send him what I got there just to mock something up, and
Thank
hopefully we'll have something to look at.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, right on.
In terms of the language that DEC came in yesterday for the disadvantaged municipalities to help folks, particularly
Sorry, Sweeney. That's all right.
yeah, for non-private resident owned manufactured housing communities, to change that for the drinking water revolving loan fund. And then to kind of circumvent what's currently in rural in terms of sewer wastewater treatment. I had a conversation, as I said, with my Mark Mahaly, who doesn't seem to support the second piece. You didn't know about the first piece, but the second piece about going around the rules, changing the rules by statute, not changing the rule itself. And also the chair of Environment Committee, and also Ledge Council Michael O'Grady. And there's some real issues with this. I was hoping to have time to sit down with all those folks, with Michael O'Grady, because we don't live in that world. They live in the housing They know what's going on. They live more in the environmental world. We fund these programs, but we don't look at the environmental world that they do. So in talking with Rob, talking with Representative Sheldon, with Amy, after the floor today, I suggested that she and I and Mark and Ledge Council get together on Tuesday. Go over. And I can get, she looked at the language that originally been introduced in the government's budget, which they've changed.
Yeah.
So Tate, if you could get, and I'll work with you, some of this to Michael O'Grady.
Yeah, so that.
But the disadvantaged municipality piece as well. So I think we were only looking about the rules, the one again, but I want the other part included.
Okay.
And if CC on that, John, and also Representative Holly and Representative Sheldon. They can see it. Okay. I circled back with Representative Wood about the language that they're working on for the DCF beds. Said what we were working on to keep A as it was, which was the report to Justice Oversight. And B, to change that for Joint Fiscal Committee and the two and the chairs of those respective committees. She was fine with that. So John is doing that. I haven't seen a new copy.
We have it.
Did it come through?
This is a new one, isn't it? On our page or not? Sorry, for which? Yeah. Is that?
Huh?
Oh, I'm still on 1.1, maybe not.
Oh, yeah, and what did they? Yeah.
I got my wording from,
Yes.
and then I sent it.
So. Usually John sends the new draft. Has he sent out the new draft?
I have
No.
not. Yeah, I'm looking at one from yesterday, sorry.
Okay, so that's, I don't think I'm missing anything. So yesterday we've asked BGS, particularly with the HVAC system. If you want to look on your spreadsheet, you can see the services. I don't have any we didn't cut anything, right, on this yet?
Well, These technologies a lot there.
What line are we on?
So do you want to come up to that seat tonight? Because the real concern that we wanted to go through is where are all these projects in the pipeline? We know Springfield and Newport are the top ones, that we know. And then where are we with the rest?
Sorry.
And they, BGS has gone back and done some work and they have a doc.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you can identify yourself. Am I for the record?
Good morning, Emily Kosicki, Deputy Commissioner of Buildings and General Services. For the record, yesterday, the committee indicated that you wanted a more detailed breakout of costs for the statewide planning design for the HVAC system upgrades at the correctional facilities, in terms of timing and where we were for both the temporary and permanent constructions. And so that is what this document outlines. Joe Aja put this together, our Director of Design and Construction. And I just wanted to walk through some important points on it. And to me, the most important point that we'd like to convey is that all contracts have been executed for this work. And the funds are encumbered with the exception of the difference down at the bottom of approximately $1.2 million. All of the temporary work has been completed. And then the permanent work, we do not have a guaranteed maximum price for any of them yet. We are closest to that at Southern State. The design for that is complete. And so we are close to getting our guaranteed maximum price and expect to be able to move forward with construction and complete that this fall. And then again, in sequential order, based on DOC's priority of these projects, moving forward with the next. The difference of the approximately 1.2, that's really our contingency. So again, because we don't have a GMP yet, Director Aja was building in a best estimate contingency. However, we are concerned if that funding were to go away because costs are really unstable right now with ongoing war, potential tariffs, et cetera. We are worried about cost increases that we can't fully anticipate. So all of that to say, the work has been complete on the temporary side, is in progress for the permanent side.
So for the Springfield facility, the temporary is done.
Mhm.
Construction has occurred, it's done, right?
The temporary.
So for the permanent, you're close to getting a guaranteed maximum price and all the design documents are done and ready to go to construction.
Mhm.
And the goal is to complete that by the end of this calendar year. So in Newport, the temporary has been designed and constructed and that's all done. And then are you in design documents? Have you completed those designs for Newport?
We've completed design documents, temporary and permanent for all
For Newport.
of the facilities.
So even the St. J facility and work camp, so the design has been completed there as well?
The design is complete.
Is that the design work to go to construction? And do you have a guaranteed maximum price yet for Newport?
Not for any of them. We expect.
You're close to the one in Springfield. Are you
Exactly.
close to the one in Newport?
Again, we're treating these in order of priority.
So your priority is you would have Springfield's full HVAC system done by the end of November of this year. In Newport, you're anticipating total completion of the permanent HVAC system a year from this November. And then for the work camp in St. J, that that temporary is done. Permanent is 2 years from.
That's the estimate. Again, would note that the contractor for St. Johnsbury is the same as who is working on the door control. So there's a potential we could find some efficiency, but this is our best estimate of the timeline at this point.
Any estimates on when that guaranteed maximum is gonna land for Southern State?
I think it's imminent. Yeah,
Like before we're done with Marco?
no, not that imminent.
All right.
No.
Before we leave the session.
Yeah.
This, I don't know, it just feels like a question that makes sense in my world and probably doesn't in yours. I'm wondering about the notion of contingency and if there's like a rule of thumb or best practice for the amount, but given considerations of time and the fact there are multiple, like, how much should a person have set aside for contingency or should a project?
10%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks.
I'm gonna, did you have something? Yes or no?
Kind of, I guess.
Okay.
So you said that, I think if I heard right, St. J is the same as the person, or same entity as Dolop. Are the other two, the same entity as doing each other, the same, you know, like, Springfield, excuse me, Southern and Northern? Are they the same contractor or
For
different?
the HVAC.
Yes.
I believe so. I need to verify that with Joe Peja, but that's my understanding.
Because you mentioned having the contract
Yeah.
executed, so I didn't know if it's the same person, same entity that signed it.
Yeah, I think so. I want to double check that. And I can follow up. Yeah.
Okay.
The permanent phases for northern and northeast are both well into fiscal year 28. But would that imply that like some of those funds would not be needed until fiscal year 28?
Based on, our recommendation again is to have the funding in place, the contracts are executed and just, I'd have to have the contracts in front of me for the flow of funds. But it's not necessarily all at the end, so I need to follow up for the exact timing of it, but again. And this, the completion is an estimate, so again, this is all in progress, all under contract. And just for the exact timing of the payments, I need to follow up for that granular detail.
Well, it's also the time you want to go out to bid, but you need the money when you go out to bid to do the construction.
Yeah.
So that's the time frame. Okay. Kevin?
If I heard you right, you said all but 1.2 million are encumbered. In other words, in my language, that means you've committed that. You're not in a position, unless you contractually back out, to back away. Now, the work won't be complete right away, but it's committed.
We've entered contracts.
Right.
Yeah, yes,
For the projects,
for the project.
but not the definite cost, because you haven't figured out that cost yet.
We don't have a guaranteed maximum price.
So you've entered into a contract.
In our system, we've encumbered the funds, meaning like that is what we are expecting.
Right. But it's not a
Obligated.
signed- it's not a signed contract that this project is this X million dollars. That's the box you're working in, but you don't have that definite price yet.
Correct, but again, this is, we are expecting that 19.2 based on everything that we have. You know, that we know is a known cost, and then that 1.2 is the sort of contingency where we're think it could go more, and maybe we hope not, right? But that's where there's a little bit of the cushion that we think is prudent.
Right. So for the 19.2 million is over 2 fiscal years. It's over FY 27 and FY 20. If you look at the completion dates. November 26 is FY 27. Okay. November 27, you're in FY 28. That begins July 1st, 2027. And then March of 28, you're still in FY 28. That begins July 1st, 27. And none of these numbers, except maybe Springfield, that's the one you're the closest to. You're close to getting a guaranteed maximum price. You haven't, you're not close to that in Newport, or you hope to get that done in November of 27. And you've completed the design as well for Newport and also for St. J in the working. So those are more estimates for Newport and Northeast. That's over 2 fiscal years. really, because Newport, you wait until January next year. It's cutting it a little close if you want to get it done in November of next year. So you definitely need money this year. So it's the St. J in Caledonia. That's out there a little bit. We don't want to shortchange it because these are really important projects.
Yeah.
We know the world is pretty unstable right now in terms of construction costs, because we just don't know what's gonna happen with oil prices and tariffs. We think that's not gonna impact our little state of Vermont, that's more on a bigger stage, but it comes right down to this committee room. Everything that happens on the federal side comes right down to this committee room. Has an impact. We've seen it in the past, when we had some tariffs before. We saw it with replacing the Williston barracks, and it cost about $3 million. We saw it with the secure residential for mental health, that went up $3 million. And that was a number of years ago, and now we're right back in the same boat.
Happened during COVID too. Prices hiked.
Happened during COVID. Yeah. So, I'm gonna throw you a curveball. And you may not be at the point or in the position to answer this at this point, and I respect that. And if you're not in that position, be aware it's coming in a few weeks. Are there costs to the correctional system to have a forensic unit in one of our facilities for renovations? Do you have any idea? You may not, I tell you, it's a curveball.
You mean, do we have a cost estimate for?
Well, what I'm hearing that there might be a wing for folks for a forensic to be held in. Is there any renovations would have to occur for movements within our correctional system for that? Because you're gonna have to have different staff.
I can say that I'm not in a position at this point because I don't know. I'm not directly involved in any or have any knowledge of any particulars around that. I think that if it would move forward, certainly BGS would be part of that conversation for any renovations or physical changes to the facilities. I haven't been in any direct conversations around any specifics on that.
Because that's something we're gonna have to look at here. Because there will be different staff, monitor, to supervise, oversee folks in our forensic unit. So that's gonna put pressure on DOC. I don't think people are looking at that, but that's gonna be our lens to look at this. And it may very well mean we get into having moved folks from a facility to another facility to open up a wing somewhere, and that may need some renovations, because you're also holding mental health folks. I just don't know. So I just want to put that on the table for the committee to start thinking about. So, as I've said before, there's a lot of money tied up here. We don't want to halt the VHC, HV, whatever it is, air conditioning system, HVAC. Just be aware it goes over FY27 and FY28. And also, one thing we talked about yesterday was putting in language in section 3 for the ability to move money around between all those projects in DFC.
So just to be really clear, help me out here. Were we gonna take 2 million out of this line? We weren't.
It was 2 million out of door controls.
So what this does is just clarifies where they're at with this.
You
these
got
numbers.
eight, you got eight.
Yeah.
You got. On top of on top of $1 million.
Yep,
In bonded, you're adding 8.4 million.
yep,
Then you're adding another million. So you're adding 9 to 10 million automatic
okay,
for our capital bill for FY 27. So that's a big increase jump at one time. Usually you may go up a couple million, but you don't go up 10 million.
Okay.
Dumb question. Do we do door control upgrades for any reason other than them not functioning properly?
Security.
Yeah, it's for security and functionality.
You don't want people locking a Sally port, not be able to get out.
Right. I mean,
But we're doing that.
right. So that's, I guess, my point. If we need the 2 million in there because the doors aren't working properly, we need 2 million in there. So the doors get.
We decided to cut that by 2 million because there's door controls in St. Jay, there's door controls in Rutland. And the testimony we received, the 3.6 million for St. Jay, there'll be money left over for that to go to Rutland. And by 700,000 addition for Rutland, if you need it, and then to do the next facilities, which aren't even in design yet. If Rutland goes over the, 1.2 million, and we've allowed them the flexibility to move money between projects. That's where we've given you the flexibility in case the project goes up higher. Sean?
so then my next question is, does this mean their budget goes up by 10 million and it stays up 10 million for the next 20 years?
No.
Just for this?
project,
Just for
For the
the
HVAC.
I just looking for clarity.
For these projects.
Correct, all right.
That's what.
I will just share, we are going to do the same analysis for the door controls, understanding the committee, may have made your decision on that. But we do have some, concern around the funding for the door controls as well, for some that are already in pre-construction. So we'll share that for your awareness and
Okay.
just on it.
So just remember, folks, we are putting in language, you can move money between these projects. Okay, so one pops up higher, one isn't, and another project isn't going as quickly as possible, they
Right.
can pull money. That gives you some protection there. By cutting the door controls, which we did by 2 million. That's when we said we can move money around, make sure we can move money around within this section.
Good.
For you folks.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
We're back here, we'll be back here by the time we finish this, we'll be back in 6 months.
Yep.
It's not like it's on forever.
Right.
Next session in January, the governor may propose a whole different.
Don't tell them that now. We're just getting ready to get rid of us. Don't say we'll be.
So where are we with the HVAC?
I would say keep it as is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leave it alone.
I mean, they barely got enough contingency in the number.
Remember, you're also putting money in there for FY 28.
Right.
Just want to put that on the table.
Yeah, the only reason I would advocate doing anything other than leaving it alone is if we get to the end of this process and there's some high priority thing and we're scratching, but otherwise I would just leave it as is.
So I have a question of BGS with if we put, find some money to put Wi-Fi into our correctional facilities. Would BGS be involved in any of that, or does DOC go out for their own contract with their own contractor to do this? Would there be anything with BGS involved?
I think it depends on what infrastructure is required. Like, are there any sort of physical changes that need to happen to like cabling? And I don't know enough to be able to answer that clearly. And oftentimes the contract might flow through our Office of Purchasing and Contracting, but we wouldn't necessarily direct what they do with it, right? But that's where it might intersect with us. So I think it depends.
We think it's possible. Maybe. You just don't know.
I don't know, and I don't want to guess.
Because the committee is pretty, pretty supportive of trying to find some money for Wi-Fi. We don't know what that price tag would be, like here is around 3 million. We're trying to clarify what's the price tag, what's involved, what's the time frame, and it would be, who would actually be doing the work.
And if it's like physical changes to the structure, like they need to, and I honestly just don't know enough about telecom to answer this intelligently, but if they're like having to modify the wall or cable or to install something, that's where we would have an involvement. But if it's really just a technology process, it's not us.
So that was the other reason of giving you the flexibility of moving money around this section between projects, because if we do Wi-Fi here, it will give flexibility. There's a hitch in the Wi-Fi that you need to move a wall, or you need minor renovations for that. You don't want to plug into your major maintenance.
Has DOC given us any kind of,
They're working on. They're working with ADS right now.
Yeah.
And they'll have information to us by Tuesday. So the committee's okay. We gotta shift gears here right now. So the committee's okay with leaving HVAC where it is for our facility.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So you can get off the hot seat for the time being.
Thanks, Emily.
And then we're gonna go to safety. So they're coming in on Zoom. We are section 13. Lines 114. No, what are we doing? Am I doing something on section 11? What am I doing? Oh, we got Forest and Parks. Sorry.
where are we?
Section 11.
Section 11's military.
Military.
We just never took.
Line 101.
Oh, yeah, the military, right. I'm sorry. I was confusing it with something else.
So the camouflage, I couldn't see.
I know, let me. We wanted an update in terms of where we are. I know we didn't. We haven't had you folks in to really testify on your capital request in depth this year. And we wanted an update on the Northwest Regional Readiness Center, the new National Guard Center. We put in 1.3 million for 443,000 in FY 26. And we're putting together our new budget adjustment for this 2-year budget. We just want to know where you are in the planning and design phase and how much of that 1.3 million has been used. So. Is that sort of clear?
Yes, so no, I'd be happy to give you an update on that. Just for the record, Colonel Jacob Roy speaking here for the Vermont Army National Guard on behalf of Major General Harder. Also online is the military department team back in Colchester. To answer your question, so we the military department has acquired the property as we identified. We were in the process of acquiring property for that project when we started seeking out the funds. The real estate has been acquired up in Swanton for the project. We're currently initiating the beginning processes of the environmental clearances for that project to kick off the design work. None of the 1.3 million has been currently obligated at this point. And to be completely upfront, the federal military construction budget has, when we originally asked for this project and we anticipated to get the funding for this project, has, for lack of a better term, been completely gutted for other, I guess, priorities in the federal government.
We have,
So say that again, ma'am.
we have a war.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Anyway, so the issue that we have is the project is now recompeting for the 28 to 32 milcon cycle. I don't have a clear picture when when we will get design funds for this project. The reality is it could be as early as 28, it could be as late as federal fiscal year 30 in 4 years. I wish I had fidelity on that. I really don't. It was going to be pushed by the congressional delegation in 26. It made it onto the NDAA, but it never got funded in the appropriation. It ended up getting pulled out of the 26 budget entirely. So we had it in, it looked promising, and then the project was pulled out. The military department and myself, the Guard, are actually supposed to be meeting with the congressional delegation this summer to discuss how to move this project forward, either in the natural military construction cycle or through the congressional directed spending program. But that's going to be later this summer before we have an opportunity to sit down with the congressional delegation staffs to kind of iron some of that out. They currently are building the FY28 budgets, or excuse me, the 27 budget, and then looking at future year development plan for military construction. But I can't guarantee that this project will make it in for 27 or 28. I would like to, it's just to kind of bring, kind of put things into a little bit of perspective over the next several years, looking at the future year development plan from 26 out to 32, that the overall Army department, military program is looking at going from like a $2.5 billion milcon program down to a 1.9 billion. It sounds a lot, but when you're talking total enterprise for the Army, it's really not a lot. And unfortunately, on the Guard's perspective, for the Army National Guard as a whole, the 54 states and territories, of that total amount, the Guard is only projected to get anywhere between 10, maybe 12% of that total program. So we're talking, Guard wide, anywhere between 288 million to, on the high end down to like 266 million on the low end. So the ripple effect of that is that it really significantly, the cuts that that we're seeing on the federal government side are pretty significant, and the ripple effect down to states is absolutely detrimental. And everything that everybody has planned on over the years just went right out the window. So that all of that being said, I mean, that's the current situation that we're really kind of facing. In I don't have a good answer as to when we're going to see the federal funds to match up the 1.3 million that was provided.
You know, Colonel, I really appreciate your candor on this. You know what a tough position you're in and the guards in, because we've been planning on this readiness center for quite a while. And when we're promised money from our federal government and then it's pulled out, it really has an impact. Sure.
Just to clarify, for the 25% state match, for design and construction, I want to ask this. We need the land, right? What do you,
We've got.
we have that. Let's say we know 6 months from now, a year from now, that the federal money is there. When do you need that 25% match to secure that funding?
So we would, as to answer, let me see, timeline wise, as once we got the federal funding in line, in order to cut the cooperative agreement to obligate the federal funds, we would need it in hand at that time. So if we got, for example, say that the federal funding was actually approved for FY28 federal fiscal year, so that's October of calendar year 27 is when the federal 28 year would start. So if it got approved for the federal fiscal year 28, in the way that things have kind of been working, the actual federal funds start rolling in, you know, probably around first of the year, in for that 28. So I would need the state match at that time, to obligate the federal funds with the state funds in the master military cooperative agreement, with the feds. So, that being said, so as soon as the federal funds show up, that's when I would need the state funds. Timing of that though is, I mean, that's really kind of hard to decipher depending on, especially the way that the feds are pushing money right now. It's really hard. And I'll use this year as a prime example. The Congress actually approved the MILCON, the DoD MILCON VA budget before they approved the actual annual appropriations budget for all the departments except for Homeland Security. That's unprecedented in my time in working here. I've never seen that happen before. So, and that actually happened in January of this past year. Or excuse me, not January, but back in December. So it really depends on when Congress decides to actually pass the appropriations budgets for each fiscal year coming in, and that'll actually tell us when we would actually need the funds. I think that arguably when we see that this project actually comes out either in the National Defense Authorization Act or in the MILCON VA appropriations bill, we probably will have anywhere between 3 and 6 months to come up with the match, and then work, you know, then we can start working on the project. Typically with military construction funds, they're a little more flexible on timeline. They like to see those funds obligated within the year of their appropriation, but we do have a little bit of time because they're considered 5-year funds to get that. If we don't make the year of appropriation, we can ask for an extension into that to buy us a little bit more time. But the rule of thumb is to obligate those funds by September 30th of the year that they were received. So we do have a little bit of time from when we actually know when the funds are coming in to when we actually have to get the match to obligate all those funds. Does that answer your question, sir?
It does, very much so. Thank you so much.
So Colonel, is it more assured, say that in quotes, because I know we're just living in uncharted territory here in terms of budgeting on the federal level. Is it more assured if you have the state match already in hand for when it becomes, the federal money becomes available to be approved? Is it better if you have that state match already in hand?
It does a bit because when and I'll kind of caveat that a little bit with the fact that when if an opportunity arises that, and sometimes this, it's rare, but it has I have seen it in the past where the National Guard Bureau will say, we have funding available to support this project, can you execute it? If that arises, and we would have to have the funds in hand to be able to do that in that case, yes. By and large, though, I will say that the intent from the federal government is that if they provide funds, that you're going to either have in hand or be able to get in short time the state funds to match. So it's not a requirement to have the state funds in hand as soon as we get the federal money, but the intent is that we get it in time enough to obligate both sets of funds within the federal parameters provided. So it's not really a clean answer to your question, but that I don't know if that helps.
It helps a little. So if you're going to be going into discussions with our congressional delegation for, I'm going to use the old term for earmarks, does having that state match in hand help with that negotiation? Or is it hard to say?
It's really hard to say. In my mind, it helps justify the state's need for the project. And that's how I would caveat it with the federal or with the state match already in hand, because I can actually go and say, look, the state has a dire need for this facility. They've already ponied up the money for this facility, anticipating that we were going to get, funding to start design already. I think it shows the state's eagerness to support this project, and it definitely, I think it shows the importance of getting these types of projects off the ground and going. So having the money already dedicated in hand to support the project, I think definitely helps the narrative and helps support our justification for trying to get the feds to push this project to Vermont.
Questions?
Kind of made his point.
Anything else?
We
have another, you can keep thinking, we do have another question here, hang on.
Yeah,
Kevin.
yes, sir, go ahead.
If this is an unfair question, just say it's an unfair question. Based on your experience, what's the soonest you think you might actually make the list? Gut feel, I understand, just a gut feel.
So minus any congressional delegation input, if we were to stay on the normal track of what we are, probably FY29.
Thank you.
Yeah. So and with that, I mean, I know that I'm gonna put the me, I guess, the I in this one. I know that I am asking a lot, for and I am completely grateful for everybody in that room and supporting, the National Guard and trying to get this project and pushing these funds to us when we asked. And that does not go unrecognized. And I am completely grateful for that and the support that all of you have shown for this. And I know I'm asking a lot to try to hold on to these in effort to in hopes that we can recover this in somehow. But I also know that, and I recognize that there is a lot that you all have to make decisions on as well. So, but I do want to say that I really do appreciate the support and with everything that you've provided so far. And it's tough, and I do apologize for putting everybody into this kind of decision predicament, kind of going forward.
Well, it's not you, it's not your fault. There's other things at play that's way, way beyond you, for sure. We just experience the ramifications of decisions that are made on the federal level. We are in markup. I don't know, I mean, this money was put in last year when we put the budget together. It's still there in FY '26. We're just going through markup and we just need an update. And it doesn't mean we're gonna cut anything or increase anything. We just want an update. And I don't know if the committee wants to weigh in and what people are thinking while the folks are on Zoom.
Well, I mean, I'll ask Kevin's question in a different way. What is the percentage likelihood? 0, but that you are going to have action on the federal side before July 1st of 27? 0, right? So like you're not doing anything this year.
That would be accurate, yes, sir.
But you are going to be speaking to our congressional delegation, hopefully this summer, to see if we can get, I'm going to use the old term, earmarks. And it would be in a better position for you to show that the state has put some money on the table for this. Negotiations with our congressional delegation.
And we've got skin in the game.
We got skin in the game.
I don't mean to imply that I'm for cutting it. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person in this room that spent, 8 years of their life in the St. Albans Armory. And how tough that is. It's not a great facility, and neither is Swanton. So I certainly support this. But I just was asking, just so I understand where the money is, what the process is, or where you are in the process. And we want this to happen yesterday, and I'm sure you do too. And I'm sure General Knight would have liked it to have been done before he was gone. But now it's Harder's problem. So we're here for you.
So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So where is the committee? You want to keep the 1.3+ million in?
For this point, I would say yes.
For now.
Keep it in for now?
I'd like to reserve when we get to the bottom line here of how everything's looking to revisit it, but I completely understand the position of Colonel's. And Colonel, it's not your fault. You're apologizing to us. It's how it goes.
So when we get through markup, which won't be till next week, Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday, probably Tuesday, make sure that Tate, our committee assistant, who's so on top of things, that he'll reach out to you to let you know our decision for this. But right now, we're keeping in the 1.3 million at this for that.
I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your candor in the situation you find yourself. And I appreciate all of you as well as the other folks in the military department that have made time today on such short notice to come in. Because when we do markup, things come up at the last minute. So I want to really appreciate. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
For that.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Colonel.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's shift gears here. This is
Okay,
not.
I'm going to sign out. Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of the day.
Yes, you too. we've got something that's not in the capital bill at this point. It's not in the spreadsheet at this point. We're hoping to do this in our land resolution that we always do for forests and parks after we get out the capital bill, because there's situations sometimes that occur that they need to change a boundary on some property that they own or do a land swap. So we usually do that through a resolution, not a law. I mean, not a bill that you change statute. It just allows forests and parks to go forward with it, but it does need those things need legislative action. We do it through a resolution. This is a little different. And we were hoping possibly we could do it with a resolution, talking to our ledge council. It's like, we really should, a resolution may not be the best avenue to go in, possibly. And it might be better just to do the session law language in the capital bill for that, because it needs to be session law, according to what I've heard. So we have with us here folks from Forests and Parks. We have Michael O'Grady, who's from our legislative council, that has drafted up some preliminary language for this. So I want to start with Forests and Parks. I don't know, Commissioner, do you want to start, or do you want to go right?
I'm gonna pass it to my colleague here, Rebecca.
Okay, so Rebecca, if you could introduce yourself for the record, give us the background of what's happening here.
Sure, thank you. For the record, my name is Rebecca Washburn. I'm the Director of Lands Administration and Recreation for the Department of Forest, Parks and Recreation. I'm also the Chair of the Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic Collaborative. Thank you. If it doesn't look like it outside, it is spring. Happy spring. As Chair said, I come in from time to time to talk about projects where we may need to convey an interest in land, because there is statute that requires our department in particular to get the approval of the General Assembly. The project that we're talking about today is a really exciting one, and only recently did it emerge that a lease, which is conveying an interest in land, would be the right tool for us to use in this partnership that I'll tell you a little bit more about. So that's why we're here. Normally, we would bring a great idea to you at the beginning of the legislative session, provide testimony, give you a chance to hear from others if you wanted to before taking action on something where we're considering a conveyance of a public's interest. In this case, we have a historic building in Little River State Park. If any of you have visited there and have walked the history hike, there is one remaining structure from pre-1927 flood era. And it's a beloved structure within the state park system that we've been trying to find a solution to reconstruct for many, many years. Along comes a wonderful partner of ours, Vermont Hudson Trails, an organization maybe you've heard of. Their mission is essentially to provide a hut-to-hut based experience, recreational experience across the state of Vermont. They've partnered with the Green Mountain National Forest. They're seeking partnerships with us. The Goodell House represents the first opportunity for us to do this. They, in conversations with us, were able to secure a federal grant through HUD, Urban and Rural Development. I'm going to get that wrong, but they secured this funding. And since then, we've been working on sort of working out what does this partnership look like. As Chair Emmons knows, our ski leases are a tremendous asset for us from the point of view of what are the durable elements of the ski lease that we could use to build on to think about how we might want to codify this partnership with VT Hudson Trails going into a project to reconstruct the cabin and make it available essentially for four-season use, for recreational use within the state park. So I can go very quickly into some of the terms that we expect to be in a lease once we are able to work through conversations with our partner to determine what that lease should look like. Many of them would be familiar to you based on the way our ski leases are structured. Obviously, we need term. That term in particular, because of the federal funding source, needs to be 20 years at a minimum. So we're working from that time frame as the scope of the agreement that we're contemplating. We need to figure out what that fee formula and fee structure is going to be. What does access look like from the point of view of managing it as VT Huts would be managing the operations, guest access, how that access integrates with our use of the land from a management standpoint, but also how other users that we're promoting through the mission of FPR would interact with that space. What does the ownership of the structure and our approval rights look like? Termination clauses. How does the operation and maintenance work from the point of view of what would VT Hudson Trails be doing? What might we be doing as the owner of the structure and the surrounding land? And again, really wanting to be really thoughtful about how does this new use and this kind of interesting, innovative concept integrate into existing park operations in the way that we manage the lands from a forest management standpoint, maintaining the road infrastructure, maintaining other public uses. So these are things that we're thinking about and having conversations with VT Hudson Trails about. Other sort of less exciting, but no less important terms would be insurance and indemnification, conflict resolution, the types of terms and provisions that you typically see in any sort of contractual agreement between two parties. So again, we have a lot to build on because we have these ski leases that, while old, have done a lot to contemplate and have sort of tested the way that our relationship with partners works. So we have conversations underway with VT Huts to explore more what that looks like and to settle on some terms. We meet again with them next week, as a matter of fact, to begin really hashing out what those sort of headers of categories within the lease would entail. And I think as early as the end of next week could have more detail if this committee would be interested in hearing more about what we work through with our partner. And then the idea would be to be able to execute a lease outside the legislative session within the next fiscal year, so within FY27.
So you really need authority from the legislative body to continue exploring this with Vermont Hudson Trails.
Exactly.
We own the property, we
Yes.
own that building.
Yes.
They've come to us, they've come to you, saying, hey, we would like to rehab this, bring this back up. And they would not, we would still own it,
Yes,
they would lease it from us.
exactly.
And that's what you would need authority from the legislature to enter into that lease with Vermont Hudson Trails.
Precisely.
Questions? Sure.
Just did a quick little article scan as you were talking about moving the hut. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. So
that hasn't happened yet.
it has not happened. Mhm.
They move it too.
We're talking about moving it only a couple hundred feet down the history hike closer to the trailhead. What we learned when we did an environmental assessment of the location, that actually is very close to some ecologically sensitive habitat. And if, as the historic preservation folks have told us, we would be rebuilding the structure anyway, why not move it to another location? The historic preservation folks we spoke to didn't think that that would diminish the historic integrity of the structure. So we proposed to move forward with that new location.
And that would still be on state land.
It is on state land. Mhm.
My question was just answered. You have been in contact with the historic. I knew you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because of the funding source, we're required to go through NEPA. It's a federal funding source. And one of the stages of NEPA is that historic preservation review. So we've been working in consultation with VT Huts and their contractor to go through that historic preservation review.
Thank you.
Yeah, great
Questions
questions.
of Forest and Parks while they're here before we transition to our legislative council with some proposed language.
I guess it's curiosity more than anything else to move, or it sounds like you need to take it apart and move it and reassemble it.
Yes.
Any idea how much that's gonna cost?
We haven't come up with estimates yet. We were in the phase of considering the NEPA process, so looking at the environmental conditions and historic preservation review. There isn't a final design that would inform a cost estimate. We hadn't gotten to that stage yet before we learned that a lease really was the right mechanism for us to codify our relationship and give the federal funder and our partner the confidence that they could move forward with some investment. I can't recall off the top of my head what the VT HUD's grant from HUD is, but it's in the several $1 million area.
John?
Thank you. You said it's for year-round use.
Yeah.
So what kind of a fireplace would they have?
This is something we had long debate about.
Curious, no.
I'm gonna hold my breath and say it is, for now, it is propane. We felt like,
Okay.
while a wood source makes more sense and is more sort of integrated with our mission, a propane source is more practical from the point of view of the user's experience and their qualifications and skills. So we didn't box ourselves in the amendment to the long-range management plan that allowed for this. We said, should another heating source become practical in the future, we would contemplate that. But for now, it's propane.
Seems safer too, right? Is that the kind of what you're leaning into? Yeah. All right, thanks.
So the organization will be responsible to pay for moving the building, moving the structure, dismantling it structure-wise. The grant that came from HUD, would it go towards moving of the facility?
Yes.
Would any of the costs of that be negotiated in the lease?
The costs are completely being incurred by our partner. We are not anticipating expending any direct expense from our budget on this.
So the lease would be the ability for them to, they wouldn't own the building. We would own the building, state property. It would be the ability for them to operate within that building for their system or whatever they want to produce within their own arena. And that's what the lease with the state.
Yes. In fact, in working with our general counsel, our thought was that a no-cost contract with VT Huts and Trails to determine basically the terms and conditions of that moving and reconstruction phase would be the best way for us to handle what that relationship looks like in our respective roles and responsibilities. Then once that's complete, the lease then governs the operation and fee structure of that ongoing relationship, similar to the way our ski leases run.
So what activities would be occurring within this building? What type of visitation would happen? What would there be programming that they things put forward for the public to attend, or is it just folks coming into the park to begin with and using the facility? What would the building be used for?
Sure, that's a great question. The anticipated capacity is about 10 to 12 people that'd be able to stay there overnight. VT Huts and Trails currently has a couple of other huts that they manage a reservation system for. So anyone that's interested in staying overnight at the Goodell House would be able to reserve overnight accommodations in the same way that they can reserve other cabins and huts that run through VT Hut's system. So we're moving both the operations and maintenance of that structure onto VT Huts, but also the sort of interface with the public and the public's interest in using that location. That too would be the responsibility of VT Huts. We would be looking at how to structure the relationship between our interests in making sure that this exclusive use is balanced well with the other public access and unrestricted uses of the surrounding lands, while also making sure that VT Huts can effectively run the nonprofit business that they're operating.
So currently, in the current position, place where this house, Goodell House is it being used by?
No,
It's not. It's been closed.
skunks, raccoons, squirrels.
It's been closed up.
Pretty much since we acquired Little River State Park following the 1927 flood, this has been an unoccupied structure
Long.
left over from, it was built in the 1800s.
Okay.
It's part of the original settlement up at Little River State Park, which is why we have to take it apart. Yes, exactly.
But if you haven't used it, Forest Parks hasn't used it at all. And it's still standing.
It's still standing. We, at the end of every winter season, we kind of hold our breath, walk up and check, and it's still there.
We should-
So tell me a little more about the house.
There's a great article out here that Troy already referred to.
Oh, okay.
Bigger
All
from
right.
August, yeah.
All right.
I think if any of us are still here, we should do a trip when it gets done.
Sure.
Yes.
Because
That
you
would
said
be
it was
fun.
11 or 12, you could stay. That's us.
We'll never work together.
We'll
again.
stay overnight.
Oh, God,
Who's
I don't
bringing
want to
the
stay
propane
overnight
tank?
with you guys. It only takes 10 to 11. Well, we have 10 to 11 people. Right?
Could roast
Just squeeze 11
marshmallows.
people in. We'll be able to take tape.
Survive.
We'll sleep outside.
They set up to 12, so Kate's with us.
Small enough, we'll squeeze you in.
Whether you like it or not, you're stuck with us.
See it now, kumbaya and s'mores.
Anything else before we shift to our legal counsel with proposed language that may work or may need to be tweaked? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
You never know what you're gonna get into in the Capitol bill, folks. Come on up, Michael.
I would love to see a picture next time.
Just had it up.
You send it to us?
Oh, but
Come on, show some love.
what did I search? No, okay.
It's on bigger from August.
Michael, I haven't seen you at the end of a table for a long time.
That's been a while. How are you?
Hanging in there. Like the rest of us.
This is Michael Grady with Legislative Council. I think, as you know, the Department of Forests and Parks has the ability to buy, sell, transfer, lease state lands, but it's with the approval of the General Assembly. It says with the approval of the General Assembly, which may include a resolution. It doesn't require a resolution, so you can make that approval through other legislative means, which includes session law, or if you wanted to write it into statute, you could, and you have done that before. For example, the authority to license maple production on state lands is written into statute. So if you wanted to, but this seems more of a one-time fiscal year 2027, they're going to enter the lease. The question is, how much detail do you want to provide and what that lease needs to address? So I gave you just basically, as the chair noted earlier, preliminary language, which says fiscal year 2027, the commissioner is authorized to enter a lease. And since I heard today that's going to be 20 years, I would say a long-term lease with Vermont Hudson Trails for the use of the structure at Little River State Park, provided that. And then what provided that do you want? Provided that the lease sets the terms of use, sets the term of years, specifies the boundaries that are subject to the lease, specifies the fee formula, specifies what access the public has, who has responsibility for maintenance, whether or not that lease can be terminated, and what conditions are required for termination. Is it at will? Do you need 90 days? Must there be fault? What insurance needs to be carried, and what liability or lack thereof the state will have for use of the land, any conflict resolution, who's going to pay for the movement. I heard that there's going to be a no-use contract with the organization for the movement. I assume that's going to be an addendum to the lease. I would recommend that, and that it provides that they will pay for all the costs of movement, costs for maintenance, etc. So I've talked to Catherine Gessing, who's the general counsel for the agency. She said that she's in discussions with the partner and could have potential language for you next week. And that's what I have to report.
I think we should put some conditions around there. We really do. And I don't want to be prescriptive. But I think if you could work with our ledge council folks to really, I think liability is a big issue if we've got other folks who are accessing it to and they're working through Vermont Hudson Trail to access it, but it's on state property and something happens, who's gonna be liable? Is it the state or is it the organization? I think liability is one of the big ones. Maintenance, operations, Troy and then Mary.
Yeah, our quaint little fireside s'mores camp out quickly became
That's
a
fun.
long list of, do you have anything similar already in place that we could maybe look at?
Well, the department referenced that they have the leases for the ski areas, which are longer than 20 years, and have all of those types of terms incorporated into them. And, you know, some of them are a little older than others because the terms are so long. But you could probably look at them for the type of lease agreement that they will be used.
Yeah, I'll share, Commissioner Daniel Fitzgerald for Parks and Recreation. We have looked at all the leases and do have a pretty comprehensive list of terms to include everything that Becca mentioned, from the insurance, the term, maintenance, all it's like probably 20 different areas where we would look to want to work with our partners. And we're doing that now, meeting with them Tuesday so that they can agree to that. We're going to flesh these out together and then bring it to you, that long list that we have.
Yeah, but do we want to put all of that long list in section law?
I mean, that's up to you. I will offer that I assume that the department's going to attach the standard terms and conditions for state grants and contracts to the lease, and that has about 28 provisions in it, and is pretty comprehensive. The state will not indemnify. The contractor needs to carry sufficient insurance. It's a long list of requirements, and you could just say the specific terms you want to include and the lease shall include the standards, terms and conditions for contracts. And I think that would address many of the issues.
Should start that drafted up, and then you continue your
Yeah.
discussion, and get back to us on Tuesday.
Sure.
That work for folks?
Yep. Okay. Got it.
So Michael, I also am having Tate send to you what we spoke about yesterday.
Yes.
So the priority list there.
Yes.
I don't want to get into it today, but Tate's gonna send to you. I think you already have the language. But they also are looking at the drinking water revolving loan fund.
Yeah.
And they also have proposed language that would also help them receive money from the drinking water revolving loan fund for manufactured housing communities. So Tate's gonna send you what A&R DEC's been proposing to us to include.
Or is that section 8 of the specific?
Yeah, but it's different than what's in.
Okay, so I have talked to Patrick Monks at A&R about what they're proposing for the Clean Water SRF. And it's effectively not changing, it's not specifically changing the priority list, but it's allowing a municipality that's applying for funds for an extension of a sewer line that will be used for housing to not have to show the need because of a pollution issue, a public health issue, or when outside of a designated density downtown, that it is necessary, and if it is necessary, that it's designed to avoid sprawl. So they won't have to make those findings in order to award for that municipal extension for development of housing. I would also note it doesn't say what housing, lower moderate, full-time residents, density. It's according to the Home Act. It doesn't provide any of those criteria. So if you were going to do that, I think you would want to put some parameters around what type of housing you would be
That's beyond,
effectively subsidizing private development.
and that's really beyond our purview. So I spoke to Representative Sheldon this morning. And what I recommended to her was that she and I, Representative Mulhaley, and you and myself sit down on Tuesday.
Okay.
And work through this and see where those two committees are in terms of where they come down on both, section 8 and then section 9, and Tate will,
Right, okay.
this is the new proposal, not what came in the governor's budget.
I will also say that their language doesn't work under section 9 to the point that they wanted to, because they waive one requirement for the finding, but not the other. So
In the rule,
in the rule, right? And so,
some conflict.
well, they won't have to make that finding under section 300, but they still have to make the finding under section 200. So it doesn't work. And Patrick acknowledged that.
But we'll set up a time on Tuesday. Probably, I would prefer sometime Tuesday morning,
That's fine.
like maybe when caucuses are going.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, something like that, because we have to get this bill out for that. I know you're tied up at the end of, if you
Yeah.
can actually fly somewhere.
Right, well, we'll see.
We'll see. So thank you, and we'll circle back on the Goodell House, circle back on C. So I know it's getting, thank you, Mike. I know it's getting a
Good
little
weekend.
interesting out there, and some of us have ways to go. But I do want to at least get the spreadsheet out, Scott.
Oh. Sorry, I was falling asleep on
Oh, I just, okay, I wanna, don't get excited on what you see. On the bottom line. And, at least we can take a look at the spreadsheet. And, I would.
Sorry, yeah.
So, as long as. Hey, sure.
Well, I'm gonna get through March week. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Get through the mountain. It's raining back home. So Scott.
Good afternoon, committee.
Or something.
Take care of it. Thank you, sir.
So we still have a ways to go. Don't be too excited. We still have a ways to go here. Still have a ways to go. Gotta learn to look at the back page first.
Well, you told me not to get excited.
It's all bottom line. Don't worry about the rate allowance.
Right.
What's the bottom line?
For the record, Scott Moore, Legislative Finance Manager for the Joint Fiscal Office, and I present to you draft 2 version of the spreadsheet we've been working on. Just to walk you through a couple of things that I have done in terms of coloration. On the very first column we have there, actually across the whole thing, anytime the governor recommended something different from the bill previously, in the previous spreadsheet, that was a bright yellow. I've muted that to be more of this like lighter tan, so you can still see that there were some changes. And then anything that is bright yellow in the section that's the red, those are the changes that we made. And the same for the first column there. If we made a change to something, I put it in bright yellow. If it was a governor recommended, it's still in that tan kind of lighter color. We didn't make very many changes so far. Walking through, we can start with line 4. We had changed the FY26 bonded to be 1.1 million, and we zeroed out FY27 bonding. So we cut a total of 1.5 million. We just did 400,000 in FY26 and 1.1 million in FY27. Line 9, in the descriptor, we removed the word historic, which is really more of a language thing, but I highlighted that there in yellow so you can see. Line 11, we took $1 million from the FY27 bonded, leaving $1 million. Jumping to line 27, I added Department of to the description. But it didn't change any of the dollars. I just wanted to let you know I did change that. So we were clear there. And then we did remove $2 million from the cash, my apologies, and left $700,000.
I say, yeah, we did move some.
Yeah.
Good job.
After all blurs, Madam Chair. Make sure.
That was my record.
I had to help you earlier.
Line 28, we cut $1 million from the FY 27 cash. Then jumping to line 56. And I do apologize in that I did miss a couple of things yesterday because I had to go to Ways and Means and Appropriations, but talking to Madam Chair yesterday, we talked a little bit about this. And I think the committee had a discussion about adding line for the sprinkler system. So taking money from the renovation of the A-wing and adding money to the sprinkler system. An easier way to do that is to just change the language for line 56 to say, hey, this money could be used for A-wing and the sprinkler system. I know there was some question about, was it 740 they had left over, 750, 760? Easiest thing to do is have John change the language to say, in addition to A-wing, also do sprinkler installation.
Gotcha.
The A1 when we did that or the elevator?
Okay.
Was it?
Okay, we did stuff with the elevator as well.
Elevators.
The elevator was the sewer, not the strength.
Right,
Not
that's the
57.
line right below it.
Line 57, this is where things get a little more fun. We had, so we zeroed the $500,000 in cash in FY 27. And I added 1.25 million in bonding for FY 27. $500,000 of that would be coming from the reallocation of elevator money from FY 24. And I added a line item, line 170, which we'll see when we get down there. So $500,000 comes from reallocation of elevator money. We added the $500,000 from the cash, essentially from cash to bonding. And on top of that, another $250,000 for a total of 1.25 million. Jumping to line 123. I removed $750,000 from cash. And then we jump to line 170 on the back page. Here is that $500,000 that we added from the elevator upgrade from FY 24. And then I took the liberty of lines 171 and 172 to add in money from the repo committee's work. Total of 63,413 in bonding.
3 cents.
The compliance grants.
That's precise.
They gotta get that thing off the books because it keeps coming up.
The repo committee did have another line item, which was regarding phosphorus equipment, but the GovRec already had it. The GovRec number is 114,000, I think it was 115. We had a different number that we came up with, but if the governor's going to recommend a higher number, we went with the governor's number instead of ours. And that is all I have done. So if you look at the very, very bottom, we ended up adding a total of 6,063,000. And of that 6 million, 1.8 is in bonding and 4 1/4 is in cash. We got 6 million.
Good,
It's fine.
good. Sorry. We got some work to do. Got some work to do. We have Wi-Fi that's dangling out there. We heard last year. It's not incorporated here. We haven't really talked about the entryway. That's $1 million. So there's 4 million right there. And then we haven't talked about the recovery house. I think those were the 3 that were dangling out there. We haven't talked about reallocating the 26,000 from FY 22. field days, which has bumped up against that time where it does get reallocated back to the capital. So I think that's where we should leave it for the weekend. It's what I'm feeling because of the weather, unless people want to keep working on it. I think we're gonna let it settle a little bit.
You guys all live far away. I'll take care of it myself.
Right.
And that's 6
Oh,
months.
no. Off what push that.
So right now, if we fund those dangling, particularly the entry, which we haven't discussed, okay? And we said no to the state colleges. That was $1 million. And, we don't know what the Wi-Fi will come in at. That could come in at higher than $3 million. We don't know. But, so don't get all excited about 6 million. We got a lot to. And we've got to, you know, we're under what we bond for. We have the bonding, the capital funding, bonding capacity that we have is 122,600,000 and something. And we're about 1.8 million less than that. So,
Good.
well, no, we don't want to leave that at the bottom line.
Oh, gotcha. You want
If
to
you leave
make it
anything on the
equal?
bottom line, it's gonna get sucked up in the center.
Okay.
You don't wanna leave anything on the bottom line. It will get sucked up. Let's give
Let's
it,
guys finish last.
we wanna allocate everything we can. We come in with 0 to, you know, have it all balanced out. And then cash, we have about 4.2 million cash. Variety of ways to work on through this. Does that make sense to folks?
Sure.
Does.
We didn't get it out, we're in good shape. John is working on language. So Tuesday, I really want to spend a lot of time, be prepared for maybe a late night on Tuesday.
Yep.
Wednesday. Got to coordinate this with appropriations because they're gonna vote. Appropriations bill will be on the floor next week. On Thursday and Friday. When our bill gets voted out, it goes to appropriations. For the chair of appropriations. We also have to work on that language. For human services, on the juvenile facility. So we got a lot of little dangling pieces to work through. Is there anything that anyone wants to, that's thinking that needs an answer?
I ran the damn language by, sent some stuff to Ben Green, handed it to Commissioner there, BNRC, so hopefully we'll get some feedback.
So when you get some feedback, just go right
Yep.
to John. He's working. Drive careful, folks. Have a good weekend. We're back here on Tuesday. Plan on Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe doing long days, trying to
Okay.
get the bill out. Okay?
You ready?